שניים, מה שראתה שתקרה, משקיפה מן הים, יכול להפוך מספדים למחול, לזכך את החול, לרכך בי הכל. רב קטן מבין איך לגשת ללב שלי, לשכך כל כאב שבי, מרפא את הלב. ששוטר, תמיד את מנגנת, תמיד שלמה עם עצמך, ברוך את מלטפת, את מטרי אהבתך, איזה מזל. מזל שיש אותך, את מבינה אותי ואת מראה לי את עצמי, מתלהב כמו ילד, מתבדק בך ואז אני נשאר
I can see your stars low, low, shining in the woke up this morning like a new day. I got myself a blue shine through the heavenly throne, no fear and no retreat.
I'm sorry, I don't know if people were hearing me or not. Anyways, good evening to everyone. It's an honor to be here with you for an evening of music and story with the one and only Peter Himmelman. Hasidic teachings tell us that music breaks all boundaries. Simcha poretzes geder. And especially so, when we're living through such difficult times, we need the music now more than ever. But today in the morning, everything is by divine providence. And today in the morning, we found out that one of our very own dear friends and community member, Dr. Alex Goldfarb, who was hiking as he does every year in the mountains, is lost since yesterday. And everyone's been frantic. And in fact, in a remarkable unity of community, they made a GoFundMe in the morning to be able to send a helicopter rescue and raise $60,000 in 7 hours. And at midnight tonight, the helicopter rescues will go out to look for our dear friends. I want to dedicate tonight, we should be extra joyous and extra celebratory and extra happy in honor of a safe return of our dear friend Alexander ben Tatiana. And our joy will break the boundaries and pierce the heavens and bring him back safely to us. And now on to Peter Himmelman. Peter, how shall we say it, is a unique man, a spiritual man, a deep man, a man of music, of joy, of love, who's impacted and touched many lives. And for Grunny and I, it's a great honor to have Peter with us here tonight. And I think that the best way to start, I want to just tell you two things. At some point tonight, we will be asking you to think of the greatest Jewish thing you do that you love and put it into the chat box. And Peter will sing the song connected to that. But before we get to that, we want to hear Peter's remarkable story through song, through music, what inspired him in Judaism, growing up in Minneapolis, and where he is today. Welcome, sit back, enjoy. You could do as me, take a shot of tequila or a scotch or a glass of wine.
Or like me, just a cup of tea.
Say l'chaim for our dear friend, Alexander and Tatiana. We're going to spotlight Peter now, and the floor is going to be his. And I know it's going to be a unique evening.
But you did go on mute. That means the floor is entirely mine. Well, that could be a scary thing.
Peter, we can't hear you.
Pardon me? You can't hear.
No, there's no sound so far. No, no sound.
What could that be? How about this? Check.
Nope, we don't hear you, Peter. Do others hear Peter? We did. I think when you played the guitar, we did hear you. Want to try that, and then maybe it's just the microphone?
Let's see what we got here. Let's see what we were cooking with.
No sound.
Check 1, 2. Check.
If you correct. Okay, maybe it's worth it to call back in.
Let's try something else. Check 1, 2. Can you hear that? That is not the, that's not the best sound. That's the substandard sound, but it's the best we have, you know. If the helicopter's flying, it's going to do whatever it can to find your friends. I'm going to do whatever I can. So, Rabbi, why don't you unmute and you can be with me on this so I can share the floor with you? Or no?
I'm muted. L'chaim, Peter, take it away.
I'm going to play a song. This is a, how's this sound? Can you hear this? Woke up this morning like a new man. Got myself a brand new pair of eyes. I can hear your stars low and low, shining in the golden sky. Shining in the golden sky. Woke up this morning like a new man. I got myself a brand new pair of feet. Gonna jump up to the heavenly throne, low and low, where there's no fear and no retreat. No fear and no retreat. Gonna sing your praises all across this land. Since I woke up, a brand new night. Woke up this morning like a new man. I got myself a new pair of ears. I get a rhythm of time, low and low, and the slow passing of the years. The slow passing of the years. I feel to burst every faith in you. Since I woke this world anew. praises all across this land. Since I woke up a brand new man. Woke up this morning like a new man. I got myself a new design. I'm just about to bust out of my skin, Lord, no. This day's so hot, it's on fire. This day's so hot, it's on fire. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. I'm going to try another mic and see if this works again.
No.
No. No.
No, now you probably have it. Now the sound is back on, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's good. So, Rabbi, what did you have in mind? Did you have any questions or thoughts?
I have a lot of questions, but I first wanted, I think we would all want to hear your story about how you got connected to Judaism, a little bit about your music, what in your music, how do you feel you differentiated yourself from your father-in-law's music and focused on becoming who you were and who you are, and a little bit about your story, and through music would be great. And then we could go on to hear what others want.
Yeah, that's fine. How's the sound in this music? I usually don't have this sound from the computer, but is it working or no?
It's working good.
All right, if it works well enough, that's fine. I grew up in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Anyone know the place? It's called St. Louis Park. Anybody ever, Harvey, have you ever heard of that? You know it? Have you ever heard of that St. Louis Park?
Me?
Yeah.
Not a chance. I've been to Minnesota, to Twin Cities once. Too much snow. Boston is more than enough for me.
Yeah, there's a bit of snow. There's a bit of snow there. So when I was a kid, going way back, when I was a kid, I wasn't that good at sports, so I had to kind of figure out something for myself, and I started playing the guitar when I was about 11 years old. And just to tell you what kind of kid I was, we had something in 6th grade, so I was probably 12 or 11 years old. It was called Drug Prevention Week. Like, we didn't know anything about drugs at all, but they made a grave error in school by having drug education. And this was, they would tell you what would happen to you if you used a particular kind
Tell
of
the kids to be quiet.
pharmacology. And they said that you would, see dinosaurs and things like that. And we had to make a film strip, and you'd rub off on a piece of paper on this plastic thing when they projected dinosaurs and things. I must tell you, as a 6th grader, it sounded so amazing. I never wanted to do drugs more in my entire life. Similarly, they had Fire Prevention Week. And this was, again, I suppose, to educate kids not to light fires. It got me so interested in lighting fires that a friend and I practically burnt down the neighborhood right after this course. So I was very susceptible to education and so on. During Drug Education Week, I wrote this song. This is the first song I ever wrote in my life. And to explain it, I was 12 years old. I'll give you the explanation of the song so when I play it, you can hear it. It's about a young man, probably maybe older than I was at the time, because I had no experience with this, who was attracted to a young woman, found her very attractive, and he was romantic. And his how shall I put this in the most modest way? He was a little too forward, and she left his life. And then he was so depressed that he started to use drugs, and he left reality. So the song was called Exit. Imagine I was in 6th grade. we played this at the spring concert, and everyone was clapping for this song. And if it wasn't for this song, I probably could have been a doctor. So here's the quick version of the song, if I remember the whole thing. I love her and she loves me. It's a world of love and it's clear, can't you see? The night was cloudy and the stars were bright. It gave her a temple right. You really got it going, but you're moving too fast. Hey, you better slow down or it won't last. The door is open, she's ready to go. It's all over, babe, don't you know it's exit. And that was the chorus, exit, exit, exit. Okay, then the next verse. She's gone, it's over, you're starting to cry. You keep it up and you're gonna die. Your hopes are down and you pick up a J. It ain't gonna help you anyway. You strike a match and you let it burn. Now your mind is, and then I put on the reverb, you know, that tremolo. Now your mind is ready to turn. It's exit. And that, the song went on and on from there. It was one of my classic hits. And I suppose it was from the adulation from the crowd and the kind of the feeling of power that you had. There was one of my best friends played the drums, another kid played the bass. And it was this feeling of really about had to do with community and creativity and collaboration. And it was so exciting that I shot like a slingshot through my entire school years as a musician. Consequently, I did quite poorly in school. And, you know, I had my own kind of thoughts. But you were interested in my Jewish part of the thing, I suppose?
I was thinking because actually, you know, you just said that when they taught you about fire prevention, you lit the whole place on fire. But I know how many souls you've lit with your music and inspired towards Judaism and towards spirituality. So in fact, in today's study of our Tanya, we studied about the soul of man is like the candle of God. So that your metaphor of lighting the town at 10 years old turned out to be who you were and what you became in inspiring and touching so many souls. So there you go on that one.
Well, look, Rabbi, I appreciate, I could have been considered a juvenile delinquent, but I like that you put a very positive spin on it. So
listen, as long as we didn't.
I was a good kid. I just had, you know, I had to express myself. So I had a grandmother who spoke a lot of Yiddish, almost all Yiddish. So I was steeped in a lot of Judaism in our neighborhood. You know, my grandma would come and she'd speak Yiddish, and she would always sing a Yiddish song to my siblings and I. And this song, nobody's ever heard it. It's not a famous song. It's called, I had some people try to research it, so nobody knows it, which attests to the veracity of my grandmother's story, which was that she learned this song when she was 9 years old in Romania. And she was, I guess, in a small shtetl. She was babysitting, as you call it, for a woman whose husband had tragically died. And she was rocking the cradle of a baby, so says my grandmother. And the baby was also sick and perhaps on its way to the other world. And my grandma remembered this song, and she would sing it to us in my entire childhood. And it was just something that I heard, I didn't really value. You know, you're a kid. I was watching, you know, Gilligan's Island and eating salami sandwiches, and, you know, I was a kid. So I wasn't thinking, oh my God, my grandma is so special. But one day I was probably about in 7th or 8th grade, and I came home from school, and I saw my grandma at the table chopping, as she always did, onions and green peppers, Spanish onions and green peppers for Romanian eggplant, which you call patlajel. And I just saw her there. It was a very strange epiphany for a young man, I think. And the sunlight kind of glinting behind her in our kitchen. And I all of a sudden realized she's not going to be with us forever. I had this cognizance that she would pass away. Obviously, it's clear, but to a kid, you never think like that. And I said to her, Grandma, can you sing me that song, that Yiddish song? And she goes, oy vey. By the way, my accent of my grandma is 100% impeccable. Oy vey, oy. And the dog would come and jump on her and go, oy, give that hint. Gave that hint. And I grew a little beard when I was like 15. She goes, oy, vox abort. She didn't like that. But I said to her, Grandma, would you sing me the song so that I can write it down? And she goes, all right. And she starts to sing, Ein Schleif, mein Kind, dein Egelach. And I wrote it all down in a transliteration. Here is the song, the first line of the song. My Yiddish probably is not perfect, God knows, because I just was remembering it as a kid. Ein Schleif, mein Kind, dein Egelach. Sleep, my child, your eyes. You close your eyes and sleep. And life is so hard and surus. I'll give it my best shot. You ready? All the Yiddish speakers. Ein Schleif, mein Kind, dein Egelach. Annehme nicht den Chayes dort gedeihen Oliten Wiegelach, dort sitzt ob dein Mutterreuen Weg. Sie klugt den Weg, wo sie alltäglich geboren, in Sursen, in Nehmer nicht in mich. Dein Vater verloren. Ist die noch einmal tot gewesen? Bist die noch einmal tot gewesen? Now, she did get sort of senile as she got older, and she kind of drifted away. So I was probably about 17 years old. I was playing in a calypso reggae band with these guys from Jamaica and Trinidad. We played like this. Boom, boom, boom. And these guys would come to my house. Peter, come let me go to any road. Let's play the Kaiso music then. And my grandma Rose would be, oi, hey, are you hungry? And she'd be feeding them. Do you want some kegel? You know, to these guys. This is the kind of house that I grew up in. But my grandma got very, she started to drift away. You know, she's very old. She's almost 90. And they would call me, Peter, play the song, to call her back almost to life. And I would sing to her, Ein Schleif, mein Kind, deine. And she would like all of a sudden wake up and, Ein Schleif, mein Kind. And you could see it almost pulling her down, you know, from wherever it was she was bound. Until it didn't, you know, even the song didn't work anymore. And then she passed away. So there was tons of Jewish stuff in my house. My mom lit Shabbos candles, which was a big deal, I think. She lit them on most Friday nights. But we also didn't have a kosher home. I learned to cook shrimp, and sometimes my mom would allow me to put the cloves in the ham, which is one way that you cook ham, for those of you who know. And this is a very crazy side note for those of you who might know this. Perhaps Richard Frankel knows this. I'm not sure, but I see you there. there is a hierarchy of trafe of non-kosher pork products. I'm going to spell it out now. Anyone who understands what I'm talking about can raise their hand. Okay, to what is totally kosher in these Jewish homes, of course it's not kosher, but was assumed to be kosher. If you had a bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich, no problem. If you had spare ribs, a little bit less kosher on Christmas Eve at a Chinese restaurant, okay, now it's a little dangerous. If you had a ham sandwich, whoa, you're getting into trafe, non-kosher territory. If you had a baked ham in your oven, whoa, no, almost no way. But if you had pork chops in a pan, for the goyim, that was completely trafe. And I don't know, does anyone relate to this?
I feel like I'm in a confession booth. You want to?
Okay, Richard, I see that you do. It's so bizarre that everything's equally as trafe. But like one time, my mom made me pork chops in a pan. Now, I'm not saying that when you start keeping kosher, as I have completely for like 34 years, that you all of a sudden despise trafe food. It still smells pretty good. I'm never going to eat it, but like she made pork chops in a pan and it was delicious. And she saw the way I was getting into it. And she goes, oh, never again pork chops in a pan, too trafe. But this is the life. So there was Shabbos candles, there was pork chops in a pan. Then I'll play this song in a minute to break up this monotonous talking. But we had this after bar mitzvah. Did anyone see the Coen Brothers, A Serious Man, the movie? A show of hands. Let me see what on this view here, gallery view. Did anyone see the Coen Brothers, A Serious Man? Nobody did, huh? Okay. No need to weigh in on that. What it was one of the scenes the whole movie took place in my town of St. Louis Park because these auteurs, the Coen brothers, grew up in my town. One of the scenes was shot in my synagogue. So it was a very crazy place. This synagogue, after my bar mitzvah, you could go to confirmation class. Had anyone ever heard of that? Marissa Silverstein, did you ever hear of such a thing? No. Jane? No, okay. Yeah, anyway, that was what we had. You would continue on with your Jewish education. It's called confirmation class. So I wanted to go. And I was probably 13 years old. And the rabbi's wife fed us cookies that were delicious. And I asked some questions. One of the questions was, well, what about angels? What is that? How can you explain angels? And the rabbi kind of poo-pooed my question, and then I asked him about Techiyat HaMetim, which is in all the prayers. Do you guys know the prayer? Mechalkel Chaim B'Chesed, Mechayim Metim. I'm like, Mechayim, what does that mean? And he didn't have an answer for me. He just kind of went on to the next person. Now I got home. I went home that night and the phone rang and it was this rabbi. My mom's like, Peter, the rabbi's calling. I'm like, oh, of course he's going to call because my questions were so amazing and inspiring. Of course he's going to call with some laudatory comments. He said, don't ever send him back. He was distracting the class with his annoying questions. So that was a problem. Zev, the Weinsteins, nice to see you guys. A nice looking family, nice couple. So that was a crossroads for me. The guy didn't have an answer. Why couldn't you just say I don't have an answer? Anybody request a song? Any particular? Why don't you guys request not a song title, but a mood of a song? Something happy, something sad. I have hundreds of songs that I've written, and I'm sure I'll have one to fit the mood. Anybody want to unmute and say anything?
Happy. I'm a
Did you-
rabbi, Chabad rabbi. Happy.
Yeah, but you're the rabbi. You can't just weigh in. We got to have Boris Bulanov and his. Yeah, any kind of song from the Boris house.
Any song that you will sing will be wonderful.
Well, that's
Great.
We're Russians, we're not very well educated, but we relate to the soul in the songs.
you should. Очень хорошо. You should know that my wife and I, in 1988, after only knowing each other for 3 months, went on a honeymoon to Central Asia, Tashkent, Baku, you know, so I'm Russian in my heart for sure. All right, I'm going to sing a happy song. This one goes out to the Bulanovsky, Buria, and what's your name?
And to Juliet Lansman.
What's your name? I couldn't hear.
Olga.
Olga?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm sorry,
Okay.
I'm muted. Oh,
Got it. All right. This goes out to Olga and Buria. This is called The Mission of My Soul. Where's Boris? How come I can't see him? He's so shy. When you need me, I'll stand beside you. I'm there for you, wherever you go. When you're hungry, I'll satisfy you. But that's the mission of my soul. Yeah, when you need confession, I'm there to listen. When you're crossing the ocean, I got a boat to row. When you need attention, your audience won't be missing. But that's the mission of my soul. Yeah, when you're sleeping, I'll make you better. When you're unsure, I'm gonna let you know. I said, baby, don't you trouble your head. But that's the mission of my soul. Yeah. When you're in a room with Olga and Boris, and you know they've been drinking vodka by the glass, you know they're Russians, you know they're happy. You could laugh with them when time comes to pass. I said, now if you're looking for a firehouse, better take the one at Chestnut Hill. I know for certain Rabbi Mindy, he's got so much talk, he can give you a bread. Thank you, ladies.
thank you.
Chestnut Hill people, I love it.
Thank you.
That was amazing.
Well, I mean, it wasn't amazing, but it was. That's the important thing.
That's it.
It just was, you know, can't get too precious with this stuff.
Yes, you know, I know that you keep Shabbos. What got you into Shabbos? And maybe you give us some music on Shabbos.
Shabbos music? Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, I don't have any music that's like, oh, use the Shabbos candles. I don't really have any of that kind of music, but all my music is pretty Jewish in a way. If you dig into it, what happened briefly, my dad died when I was pretty young. So I was playing all sorts of songs. I was writing songs like, I don't even know how to play them at this Rabbi. How frank can these songs be? Should I temper them or for the audience or?
PG-13, I'm kidding.
Okay, PG, it's probably PG-13.
That's good.
So I'll just give you
Today, PG-13 means a lot of different things than it used to mean.
No. So it's old PG-13. So I started, does anyone know Prince? Of course, so Prince is from Minneapolis. I used to play in a lot of funk bands. So I thought, well, I can write songs as provocative as Prince. So these are just some of the songs. I won't go too deep into them. This is called Fireman. I'm your fireman. Show me where you're burning. I'm your fire. It goes on and I hesitate to even play them in this sacred environment, but you get the idea of some of these songs. There were dozens of them.
Get out.
And we were, getting famous. We played in New York. We played all over the place. And my dad got a diagnosis of stage 4. I won't even mention it. And, while I was playing these songs, I was like 20 years old, 19 years old. And they felt so stupid after a while, because on one hand, the crowds are going crazy, but on the other hand, my dad is like dying. And my dad, I should just pause and mention a little something about him. He was one of these people. I always divide people up like this. There's just people that are kind of parv. They're just kind of like, oh, how's the weather? They don't really have any effect on you. And then there's other people who are just like horrible. They come around and you're just like, ooh, what's with that guy? He made me feel like terrible. And then there are a select few, I'm sure Boris is one of them, and Arthur, of course, is definitely one, who makes you feel like great. And they don't really say, it isn't that they say these wise things. It's just that their essence is such that they make you feel alive and possible. And my dad was a United States Marine. I have in the closet over here his Marine suit, and he was strong too. So there was a lot of anti-Semitism in Minneapolis, and people would come and say a lot of things. Hey, you kike, or Žid, like in Soviet Union. My dad would, you see your dad take a guy up against the wall, bam, boom. It gives you a good feeling inside, but he was also extremely funny and gentle. So when he got sick, it was a tragedy. It was a tragedy for our whole family. And when he died, while he was sick, I never moved to New York or LA, which I wanted to do for my career. But when he died, I went to New York, and I met, did anyone ever read the book, Toward a Meaningful Life? Anyone ever read that book? Jenny, did you ever read it? It's a guy named Simon Jacobson that wrote it, famous rabbi, and It's a good friend of mine. So I had a record producer who said, I'm going to take you. I know all sorts of people. I know Woody Allen. I used to date Diane Keaton, he told me. But tonight I'm going to bring you to a religious rabbi. Thinking that I would be like, no way, man. I was like completely into it. My dad just died. I was thinking about the spiritual world and things. You know, I was ready for it. So I meet Simon. He's a pretty big guy, got a big beard. This was 30 years ago. All our beards were black. And his wife is like really pretty. I'm like, I don't quite get it. Like this guy, so like he doesn't. They look like an odd match from the culture that I had come from. You know, like I didn't realize, there was something else going on. Simon is a genius. And so I was just looking around and I saw on the walls all these pictures of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, who I'd heard about a little bit. I wasn't, completely ignorant of it. But I said to him, and it was getting really late at night, like about 1 a.m. The record producer who had brought us there, he'd long since left. And I said, what's the deal with all these pictures of the Rebbe? It seems like kind of a cult. Then Simon, he looks at me, he doesn't get defensive. He just goes, look, this is not a cult. To me, he's like an inspiring grandfather. I'm like, oh, inspiring grandfather. That kind of made sense. And now it's like 2 or 3 a.m. It's really late. I'm like, and Simon's talking to me and like, something about these Chabad people. They've never spent a minute in the gym, but they're so strong. It's unbelievable. I don't know what that is. And they got nothing but energy. So we talk all night long. And I'm just kind of tired. And Simon says to me something. And this is a phrase that he said to me that instantly made me like keep Shabbos pretty much. I had a girlfriend for 11 years that was a dancer in a club and an actress. She wasn't Jewish. I had all sorts of concubines. I mean, I had a whole complex system. And all that went away basically in one night in one sentence. So here's the sentence. Now, it may not affect you the same way that it affected me, but it was this. He says, look, a tzaddik could do anything. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard the term tzaddik, a tzaddik. For us growing up in Minneapolis, it was a term like, oh, Mert Geldenstein, what a tzaddik. He could give me a deal on a used car. Like, what a tzaddik. No, that's not what it meant. Like, not just a good guy. It meant that a tzaddik, and I assumed that he was referring to the Lubavitcher Rebbe. I wasn't that stupid. But he said, a tzaddik is someone, believe it or not, maybe you don't even believe they could exist, that every food they eat, every tea they drink, everything is to give their body energy to do service for humankind or for God. There's nothing self-serving. So he's explaining this. He goes, look, a tzaddik could do anything. I'm like, really? And here comes a sentence. He goes, I said, really? Can they fly? I had to challenge him. Simon doesn't get defensive and he looks at me seriously and goes, look, I've never seen anyone actually flying, leaving open the possibility that somebody could fly. He just hadn't seen it. Hi, Ariel. And he says, look, whether someone is flying 40, 50, 60 feet above the earth or walking on it, to a tzaddik, it's the same miracle. I'm like, what? Wait a minute. It's somehow, and I understand my dad had just died, so I've been thinking about this stuff, even though I was playing, I'm your fireman, show me where you're burning. The next day, I went out and I bought a tallis. Like that day, my girlfriend, who was the dancer and the actress, she calls her mother and says, Peter is wearing ritual garments. And for me, I said to Simon, is that what like Judaism is about? He goes, basically, yes. Now, I don't know if that makes any impact on you at all, but since I was a kid, I had this sense that everything was kind of miraculous. Water, food, the fact that we could talk. But the more I went to school, they were teaching me about flax production in Idaho. It was like, how can you be teaching me this boring stuff when the entire world is so exciting? And all sorts of things happened after that. You know, I got rid of that girlfriend whom I sort of loved. I can't say now from this perspective that it was actually love. It was something else. And I needed to find a wife. So I did find a wife. I was in the back of a bus touring the nation and praying literally that who was going to want me. Like I'm starting to keep Shabbos and I'm on Sony Records and I felt like I was the weirdest guy in the world, but I prayed. And of course, God has an answer for everything. It wasn't long before we were in, Tashkent. So here's a song I wrote around that time, which it's a pretty popular song of mine. It's called All These Impermanent Things. And it kind of sort of sums up kind of everything I was feeling at the time. All these impermanent things, oh, how they fool me, dominate and rule me. They keep me waiting here forever. All these impermanent things, well, the beauty's never aging, the purposeless and raging. We always stand alone again. Why keep hanging on the things that never stay? Yeah, things that just keep stringing us along day to day. All these impermanent things, pleasant yet lucid, passive yet elusive, tearing our heart in the silence. All these impermanent things, with it pouring in all directions like second-hand reflections, leading us to some shades of violence. Why keep hanging on things that never stay? Yeah, things that just keep stringing us along day to day. All these impermanent things, well, they're trying to convince me, baptize my soul and rinse me, purge my mind of honesty and pride. All these impermanent things, well, they all add up to zero. I make believe that they're my heroes, when I fill my mind down and falls to silence. Why keep hanging on things that never stay? Yeah, just keep stringing us along day to
Wow, that's amazing. So I gather that once you started wearing those spiritual fringes and clothing, you lost that girlfriend who was a dancer at the club, right? So now am I right or wrong?
No, that was, I didn't.
That was the beginning of the end.
Well, you can't, that's a pretty big thing to, from my perspective. I'm not judgmental. I'm super judgmental, but I won't be here right now. Look, anybody that's got an opinion is judgmental. But from my perspective, the whole system is like this. This is my belief system. It happens to correspond with Judaism, not the other way around. That's why I found it so easy to get into Judaism. It was like, oh, damn, I thought that same thing since I was a kid. Somehow you're in some non-spatial, call it a spiritual world, whatever, and you're not really you, but there's some essence of you or whatever, and you come down into a physical world. Now there's all these things that you have to do in that physical world to sort of reveal the mystery and the wonder and the miraculousness of just all these physical things, everything. And one of the biggest things that you can do, which I always think is on the same plane as your own birth and your own, God forbid, death, is getting married. That's the one thing that you can do that's volitional, that's on.
How did you meet your wife?
That is a story that will go into a book one day. I can't tell you that, but I can tell you, I can tell you this. It was literally, well, I suppose everybody, when Boris and Olga met, there's something always wondrous and miraculous about every couple's meeting, and I will say that mine is no less so, and perhaps no more so, but that was such a big change of life for me, getting married and having kids. When I think about creating something too, this is another idea, like the people go, well, you're so creative and you're artist, the beard, everyone's like trying to create. The artist doesn't create anything. Not truly. Michelangelo, as genius as he was, Shakespeare, Mozart, they didn't really create anything. They took pre-created stuff, whether it's sound waves or light refracting material for paint or marble, and changed its form. There's only one entity with a capital E that can actually create something. That entity will go unnamed, but it has a capital E. But when you get married, and the idea of having children is that is the one thing that you can do on this planet that most resembles, because you can have children who can replicate and have children and children and children, replicates a volitional act that has infinite consequences. And they're you can see those consequences. So it's an extremely important thing. But forget about all these philosophies for now. Let's do the game where you put on the chat thing, unless, Rabbi, you have something else to another. Well, you got to unmute, because what you're saying looks good, but I can't hear it.
You have two requests now. First of all, you have a request for This Too Shall Pass, which is quite apropos now with this pandemic.
Oh, wow. Who requested that?
Juliet Landsman. And then I think someone else.
Juliet, you have to reveal yourself.
I like that. And
everyone, by the way, look, I don't want to tell you guys what to do, but it sucks for me not having you reveal yourself. There she is, of course. Why wouldn't you reveal yourself?
And the next request after that will be a song that inspired you. So we'll do one and then two, and then we'll move on to the next.
Oh, more people are coming on. This is great.
My God, why would you waste all that handsomeness and not reveal yourself? Okay, so this is called This Too Will Pass. I think I can remember it. Does it sound like it, Julia? Julia, how do you know the song? Unmute yourself for a second.
Actually, I Googled you and looked for some songs because the rabbi said people should request songs. And it sounded
Yeah, well, I like that you follow rules. You're not like me, but
apparently you played or performed for a radio or TV show or something. So there's and one of the songs I put down. That's kind of
yeah, no, that's good. All right, I'm glad I got you. All right. So yeah, I was asked to write a song for a Tom Cruise movie. I don't even know what it was. And they didn't take the song in the movie, but they use it in another movie. But the song is bigger than all the movies, I think. I don't even remember what the movies were. I just remember the checks I got from it. Like the river flows. By the way, this should be dedicated to your doctor friend. And we know he's going to be found probably tonight. You know, complete bitachon, complete trust that he's going to
Amen. L'chaim for Alexander ben Tatiana. Take it away.
L'chaim, l'chaim. Seems like a tough guy. He's out in the woods. He can handle it. You know, he's going to do it. Like the river flows, like the east wind blows, you're gonna find your situation changing for the better. Like the melting snow, just let your trouble go. And you and I will get through this together. Some days seem to drag on forever. You need all your strength just to keep your head together. Soon you'll see things are gonna get better. Relax. This too will last. Oh, this too will last. Like a sprouted seed, you grow through this need. All the things that bring you grief are gonna be forgotten. Like an hourglass, this too will pass. And what's hard and rock will soon be soft as the heart. Oh, yeah, stay with me now. Some days seem to drag on forever. You need all your strength just to keep your head together. Soon you'll see things are gonna get better and relax. This too will pass. Oh, this too will pass. This too will pass.
That was inspiring. Really beautiful. Papa Pete, that's the next request. I don't know what that is, but that's what the box says. Papa Pete.
I don't know.
Song about being a grandfather.
Oh my God. Song about you being a grandfather? I'll make it up right now.
About
Is that what they said?
a
Song
song for being a grandfather. Are you called Papa Pete? Is that what they call you?
No, I'm called Granta.
Granta. Oh, that's a great. I like it. Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna make this one up. I'm living in Manhattan. I pick up my car. I go to see my grandson. It's not too far, just across the bridge. Just across the ridge. I take that kid. He's 9 months old. He's like a bag of diamonds or 1,000 tons of gold. He's precious. And I put him on my head like I'm wearing a hat. And then I hear him laugh. And then a shower of knockers comes down. And I hear his joyous laughing sound. They call me Granta, and I'm so happy when I'm around. I feel that knock is coming down like rain. It flows through my spirit and my brain. They call me Granta, and it feels good. It's the best I got.
Nice.
Thank you.
Any other requests?
One second. All right. Do you hear me? So I want to say something. I'm going to get in trouble, but I'm going to say it anyways. And then I'm going to have the request that someone asked over here. So the truth is, you know what inspired me about you? I know that you became observant and you keep Shabbat and you're a spiritual man. But when I heard about you, and I'm going to get in trouble with this, and I said, hey, you know, I'm a Chabad rabbi. We're good at advertising. We're good at getting the word out. That's our gig. So the first thing I did is I made a flyer. I said, hey, this is Bob Dylan's son-in-law. I'm doing it. And then you messaged me. And you said something that really touched me. You said, could you please remove that? And I said, why? And you said, because throughout my career, I never tried to go on my father-in-law's coattails. I tried to do it on my own. And you've been so successful on your own. And it really touched me because so often we try the easy route. And that would have been the easiest route for you and for me. But you were real and you wanted what was you. So now I turn the tables. And someone asked, what's a song that inspired you? But I'm going to ask you if you have a song that inspired you through Bob Dylan. And if not, you could skip on to something else.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was like every songwriter, completely inspired by a lot of his songs. You know, I couldn't even count the number of them that were inspiring to me. Like a Rolling Stone, Lay, Lay, Lay. I mean, there's so many. You want me to play them? No, I'm not going to play them. I just lay, lay, lay across that big grass bed. You know, I could go on, but what's the point? Yeah, there was so many songs. I used to sit and, as a kid, you know, spin those records and listen to early records, the later records.
So what's your favorite song you made?
That I have written?
That you've written?
Oh, it's hard. It'd be like, you know, what's your favorite kid? Lahab, you know, Elif Havdalas.
Don't say it on Facebook, Rabbi. I'm kidding.
There's 10 of them. They're all my favorite.
Well, I mean, you know, there's some songs that I don't play a lot. There's some songs that I play quite often. I'll play one if you can. I wish the sound were better. Something was wrong with the sound check.
It's about you. It's what happened. Hashem, I mean, you got to believe everything's by divine providence.
You know, you're 100% right.
Now we're getting you raw. Raw's the best. Real.
You know, this is it. It happened. It's for the best. So whenever each of our 4 kids were born, right when they were like, you know, must have been hours old, I wrote a song for them.
Oh, wow.
So you're like, well, how come you weren't helping with the baby? That mother and baby were asleep. But one of the songs, because I put it on an album of mine that was pretty well known, it's called Raina. And Raina is the mother of our first grandchild. So I'm going to play a song called Raina. I'll play at least part of it. It's one of my favorite songs. So you could imagine, I just came home from the hospital and the baby was beautiful and fine and they were sleeping and I stole away and kind of wrote this song. So you just start playing like I'm playing now, like just something. This is like a blank canvas. You don't really know what it's going to be. And if you know what a song is going to be, it's never going to be as good. There's something about entering into the undefined, complete, the ayin, which we'll get into later. The ineffable, the inexpressible, the unknown. There's where the good stuff always comes. Some say the world is gone insane. And some say that God just got up and walked away. And some say that dreams it froze like a river that will not thaw. But not me, since I've seen Raina. And some say that all is lost. And some say all at any cost. And some say you lose your spirit when you lose a sense of awe. Not me, since I've touched Raina. There's so little in this world that's true. I have boundless dreams for you. Some say that love is destined to fade. And some say that what's pure must wither and fade. And some say the dignity of man can be broken like a piece of straw. But not me, since I've seen Raina. Raina. Raina.
That was beautiful.
Wow. Wow. So I would have you on forever, but I promised you I wouldn't make you go over an hour. We're already going into there. But before we give us one last hurrah, I just want to say this. You know, the greatest gift in life is to bring joy to others. As a Chabad rabbi, I live for bringing smiles and joy to another person's life. But there's no better, greater way to touch someone's heart and life than through music. And as the Alter Rebbe, the first Chabad Rebbe, says, that music is the pen of the soul. And that's what you do. And we could see Mike, no Mike, that's irrelevant. We see the heart. We see the neshama. And to me, the greatest thing is when someone's ready to change and to move their lives to grow. And that's what you did. So before you give us a last song, which is going to knock it out of the ballpark, I wanted to say thank you. I wanted to say that you're an inspiration. And thank you for bringing a little bit of smiles into the lives of us on Zoom and those of us on Facebook for the couple of hard weeks or months that might be ahead before we see the end of the tunnel. But we're going to see it, right? It's going to be light at the end. It always is darkest before we get to the light.
Of course.
Peter, when were we going to see you in Boston?
You know, bring us up. You know, let's after COVID, which could be, could happen tomorrow. Who knows?
May. We'll take you up on it.
All I ask of you is that I have some 5 Roses tea.
I thought you were going to ask me for something like single malt or something.
No. 5 Roses.
Actually, you're in the right house with 5 Roses. There's 5 Roses in the cupboard.
I figured you were
We're
drinking.
all set. Don't worry. There's 5 Roses.
Well, I'll give you some tequila if you
Yeah,
want.
listen.
5 Roses tequila.
Now you're talking. Okay, give us the last hurrah.
Yeah. This is this song I wrote. I think is on our first wedding anniversary. It's called 7 Circles. And some people ask, well, why does the in an Ashkenazi wedding, why does the wife circle the husband? What's the deal there? Why isn't the husband, a strong husband, like circling her, protecting her? She's protecting the husband. And what is she protecting the husband from? Well, definitely the most dangerous thing that could ever happen to the husband, which is his ego.
Oh, I thought you said it's circling him. No, I'm kidding.
That's right.
That's right.
I better be careful.
Yeah, so this is a song called 7 Circles. Turns out there's seven verses in it. I don't think I planned it that way, but how things just work out. I love you in whispers. I love you in screams. I love you in waking. I love you in dreams. I love you in circles. I love you in white. I love you in darkness, and I love you in the light. But I love you in torment. I love you in peace. I love you in passion with a prayer that don't cease. I love you in the depth, and I love you in the way. I love you in pleasure, and I love you in pain. Well, I love you in visions. I love you in rhyme. I love you in space. I love you in time. I love you from the start. I love you in aim. I love you as a woman, and I love you as a friend. Well, I love you in hope. I love you in part. I love you in spirit. I love you in heart. I love you in mind, in body and form. I love you before you gave me born. Well, I love you in theory. I love you in fact. I love you in gold. I love you in black. I love you on earth. I love you on high. I love you beyond the ceiling of the sky. Well, I I love you in madness. I love you in glee. I love you in prison. I love you set free. I love you in stillness. I love you in speed. I love you with justice, and I love you with greed. Well, I love you tomorrow. I love you today. I love you beyond mortal words can say. I love you in stillness. I love you in speed. I love you with justice. I love you with greed. I love you in envy. I love you in control. I love you in circles 7 times round my soul. Ladies and gentlemen, a bar at Chestnut Hill, featuring a Remington with a fire of roses. Yes, she's an African lady, pure and simple. She's an African through and through. But you know she's an African Ashkenazi Jew. Ooh, talking about men, yeah. Talking about the man with a smile on her face. Talking about a member of the Jewish race. And I'm saying this again. I'm glad that we're gonna become friends.
Wow, you are, Peter, you are so talented. And Olga, we are gonna bring Peter to Boston. But Peter, I have one question for you. Where are you in your music life today? And what was your breakthrough? And what are you doing these days? Where do you live? What's your music?
Oh man, it's just, you know, it's a wonderful time for performing musicians right now. We're playing all over the world, crowded clubs and theaters. This is a time where the artist steps back from her painting and she can kind of look at it. You know, that's kind of what's happening now. I just released a record this summer, which was supposed to accompany a big tour, but that isn't happening. So, you know, I'm harvesting ideas for the next album.
Wow. Well, we will, God willing, get you down to Boston for a comes in.
Give me up.
Get you up. That's right. Boston's always up. Let me tell you that. But listen, you are super talented, super blessed, man. And we are blessed to have you. We thank you for being with us. God bless you. Keep you healthy and safe. L'chaim.
Amen. L'chaim.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Yosef, how you doing, my friend?
Hi, Peter. Me?
Yes, of course you.
L'chaim.
Thank God, I'm doing great. It's great to hear you. I'm a big fan.
I do want to do this. Now, I am a staunch believer in the power of blessings. So there's this barber shop where I live, or used to live, in Santa Monica, California. It's a completely African-American barber shop. I don't think anybody white ever comes in there. But I like to go in there just because I like the whole vibe. And there's a bunch of people hanging out. It's just like something from a movie. Posters of Obama, BET, television is always on screen. So I come in there with my guitar, I play for them sometimes. So I have like I wear a yarmulke. And the guy that owns the barber shop, he goes, yo, you have a yarmulke on, don't you? I don't know how he knew the word yarmulke, maybe a kippah, but he knew the word yarmulke. And I could see on the wall he had a oncological certificate, like he must have had some illness and now he'd gotten better. He goes, man, do y'all think you could give me a blessing? I'm like, hell yeah, I can. So I said, he bows his head. Now everyone's watching, you know, his friends are there. What's going on? And I give him a blessing. His family, his health, he should have everyone. And he's like crying. And so am I, quite frankly. And then the guys come up and man, give me one of them too. I want one too. So like, that is to me an untapped power of the regular Jew. You don't have to be like super religious or anything. So
I gotta tell, yeah. Finish.
With that in mind, I just want to give everyone a blessing for incredible health.
Amen.
Joseph,
Amen.
this friend of yours should be like found tonight and have stories and everything inspiring, and you'll make them something to eat. You know, it'll be amazing meal that, you know, probably you'll have on Zoom. And people should find different levels of happiness and joy that they couldn't even imagine. That here's how much you think is joyous, and here's really joyous. I'm talking about putting one hand in the Pacific Ocean and one in the Atlantic. It's not even within the realm of comprehension, which I think is coming. That's
Amen. You have such a big heart, but I need to tell you, I have to say this story now because you woke it, baby. So I'm a Chabad rabbi. I'm trying to inspire my kids with spirituality, but my kids live in Boston. They like the Patriots, they like the Celtics, they like the Red Sox, you name it, they like it. And we're blessed to live in Chesterfield. We have a lot of good friends. And last year, for my son's bar mitzvah, someone gifted us 4 courtside seats to see the Celtics. Courtside, at the table, at the spot, playing the Detroit Pistons. We have 4 seats at the table, and right next to us are all the Detroit players. My kids are mesmerized. My bar mitzvah boy, his brother, we go out that day, we get Celtics baseball, Celtics caps, and they're getting ready. They come with a Sharpie to get an autograph. Anyways, the Celtics actually lost the game. My kids are just in awe. And at the end, they're leaving, and we tried. There's this one star, I'm forgetting his name, and it'll come back to me. He's a Hall of Famer who plays on the Pistons. And this guy, my son's dying to get it. And every time he's sitting right next to us, every time we stick out the cap, he says, maybe later. Well, guess what? The game's over. He's euphoric. He won the game. He had the last shot or something. And as he's walking out with all the things, I say, hey, could you sign that cap for my kid? You told him you'd sign it. You know, my 13-year-old is there. And my son takes off his cap and he gives it to the guy. You know, his yarmulke's on, and the guy signs it. His name was Rose. I don't remember. Anyways, irrelevant. To me, it's all the same. He signs. He's a big 6-foot player, African-American, great guy. He signs it, and he looks at my son. And he says to my son, I'm only signing it because you're wearing your yarmulke and you're a proud Jew. And here's my son, like, I'm trying to tell him about Yiddishkeit, and all he wants to hear is this all-star or Hall of Famer on the Pistons. And what does the player tell him? When he takes off that cap and wants it signed, he says, I'm signing it because you're wearing your yarmulke. And I looked to my son, and I said to him, sometimes Hashem sends you the lessons and the messages you need in your life in the most surreal ways that you would never have imagined it. And I always repeat the story to people because I tried, and the guy told me afterwards that he had friends who were Jewish and he knew all about yarmulke and Judaism and he loved the Jews, but that wasn't the point. He inspired my son to remind him that as a Jew, when you wear a kippah, when you carry your Judaism on your sleeve and you don't brush it under the rug, you're respected, you're loved, you're asked for blessings as you did. And I love that story, but it reminded me of the story that happened to me. And
they come around, people want, you know, they want to do their thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing. You are amazing. I'm going to let you go because you gave us.
Meeting you in person. L'chaim to that, and Amen to
By the way, just so you know, before I get in trouble, I told the Rebbitzin that song about the seven things you wrote for her because I asked you.
We'll
I've
have a
never
little
said anything
verse.
as romantic to her in all the 21 years.
Thank you for all the beautiful music and stories and all the blessings. And the blessings
Thank
to all
you
of you.
guys. Olga, Boris.
Thank
Love
you
you,
very
man.
much. We really
Peter.
hope to see you in person
See
sometime.
you in person soon. Absolutely. God
Amen.
bless.
Sei gesund.
Amen.
Just
Amen. Take care. Chaim, you're muted. Okay. Yeah.